Meanwhile, President Trump is preparing to kick off a cross-country economic tour focused on affordability to sell his economic agenda ahead of the midterms, with his first stop in battleground state of Pennsylvania this week. Obviously, this is going to be the defining issue.
Absolutely.
It usually is. After security, nothing is more important to American voters than the economy.
Absolutely. And it's important to note that there is, there's been a lot of emphasis on affordability this term from the Democrats. They didn't seem to care much about how much inflation had grown under their watch and how they took what was pre-COVID. And that's the thing I really hope President Trump, he has a story to tell. He took the economy under his first term and made it the greatest economy of our lifetime. I mean, we hadn't seen these kinds of economic numbers in 50 years. And then COVID hit. And then he started to bring us back. And then Joe Biden somehow ended up president. And then we saw things go south again. And now he's got to bring it back up. It's not going to happen overnight. He has an economic plan. By the way, let's look at those inflation numbers under Joe Biden. In January of 2017, look at those numbers. And then September 2025. We had Brian Bremberg earlier on the show, and he spoke with Charlie, and I thought he had a really good message, because the message from the left is, the system's rigged. It's it's the oligarchy, as you always say. And if the system's rigged and capitalism doesn't work, then the solution is socialism. Here's what Brian Bremberg had to say about that.
Yes, it's hard. But I think a lot of the you can't do it stuff actually comes from the left, which wants to say the world's rigged against you, young people, so the government's going to step in and fix your rent for you. The housing mess we have is of the making of their party over the last 4 or 5 years. I appreciate that they're talking about affordability, but it's a little bit like somebody talking about how much they're going to exercise next year, at Christmas time. It's like, but do you know anything about how to get into shape? Because your past performance says no. 2026 is going to be about who can show the American people that they can put money in their pockets in a sustainable way. I love that President Trump's out there doing it.
Yeah.
That's a good point, right, Griff?
It is a great point. And you look at, look, President Trump is calling out the fact that Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries have all gotten on the board saying, say affordability as much as you can. This is our plan. Well, President Trump's going to do a year long into 2026. Why? Because, and by the way, he says that this whole affordability thing is a con job because it was the doing of the Democrats and President Biden's administration that got us to the point that Americans had less money in their pockets and prices were at an all-time high, 9% inflation. Now you're down to 3% or under. And at the end of the day, in this first stop next week is going to be in northeastern Pennsylvania at a casino. He's going to talk to the Pennsylvanians and say, I'm putting more money in your pocket. So prices, bringing some down, beef, bananas, these other things that I can work on, but some prices may not come down, but I'm going to put more money in your pocket to make a decision on what to buy and what to do with it.
Gas prices are low,
wages
too,
rise.
Griff. Gas prices are low.
100%. I got a text message yesterday from one of our viewers that I've worked with on the border, a guy named Junior Anzaldulas that is down in McAllen, Texas, and he was watching something on our channel, and he texted me. I can show you the text. He said, what is all this about the affordability problem under this president? I just stopped and got $2.29 gas and filled my car up. So I think there's a broad swath of Americans that understand the message that the president's about to lead on. And the important question to always ask when you have politicians, both sides talking about affordability, is, okay, well, what of your policies helps me in terms of affordability? Does higher taxes help bring down my costs? Does wanting to eliminate gasoline engines lower my costs? No. Every single one of the Joe Biden Democrat policies, whether they mean to or not, causes inflation. It causes everything to be more expensive.
It's the regulation, especially around housing and building. That's adding it. It's government spending and the government printing of money. That's causing it. And then look on the other side. What's President Trump doing? I mean, and by the way, that doesn't mean that the Republicans and President Trump don't need to come up with some really great and innovative ideas. Absolutely. I think they're working on that, and they're putting that forward. But he's bringing investment into our country. We have never seen this level of investment back into our country. And the other thing he's doing is he's getting rid of the people who are undermining our wages. This is no small thing. You know, we're finding out that illegals were coming in and we were paying their mortgages, by the way. They were buying houses and we, the taxpayers, were buying their mortgages. But also on an everyday basis, they're taking jobs that they're undercutting the American wages. If they weren't there willing to take that job for less, that job would go for a higher wage, and that is better for the working class.
So, so I look at Trump's economic agenda as having four stools, basically. And that is, of course, the investment, which is tariffs and investment, which we've never seen hundreds of billions coming in like we're seeing it now, particularly on the energy and the AI front and the Japanese steel investment. So you've got four stools on this. You've got the investment. You've got tax cuts, cutting taxes. You've got deregulation, which has been desperately so needed. And now you're seeing the crackdown on fraud, whether it's fraud on, you're seeing what's playing out in Minnesota and other places. And in the context of all four of those things, you're going to create an economic engine that I believe the president thinks will rival the economy he built in the first term.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.